What's up YouTube? In this video I'm going to be showing you how to replace the drive shafts on an R53 Mini Cooper S with the manual transmission. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and stick around. You're going to want to watch this whole video. No matter which type of Mini Cooper you drive, if you do your own work on your car, which you probably do if you're watching this video, check out my Facebook group. It's called Mini Cooper DIY. I'll leave a link to that in the description, or you can just go to Facebook and type Mini Cooper DIY in the search bar. Let's get to the video. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is break this nut loose. Well, first you're going to take the wheel off, and then you're going to break this nut loose. I pre-broke it, obviously. You can see I can turn it by hand. What I used was this 32 millimeter socket and an impact gun. You can do it if you don't have an impact gun. You're going to want to soak this, even with an impact gun. You're going to want to soak it with some penetrating oil overnight at least, because this is hard to get off. If you're going to use a breaker bar because you don't have an impact gun, what you're going to want to do is take this center cap off of your wheel, which is easy to do. You just squeeze these from the inside of the wheel and pop it out, or you could probably just hit it with something and pop it out. But once you get that off, you just put your wheel back on and then lower your car to the ground so that you can turn this bolt without your wheel spinning. A lot of people also, they'll have somebody hold the car with somebody pressing the brake pedal, but I'm out here by myself, so I don't have anyone to do that. Once you have this nut off, screw it on a little bit just so that it sticks out past here, past your rotor, so that you can hit it with a mallet. You're going to need a mallet, but a small sledgehammer or even a big sledgehammer, so that you can break the axle loose. I've already sprayed plenty of penetrating oil in there, so hopefully it'll come off pretty easy. And the reason you use the bolt on here is so you don't mushroom the end of the axle. And as you can see, if you reach from the back, I can move it freely, so it's not stuck on anything. Okay, next you're going to want to take this 15 millimeter bolt off right here on the back of your steering. I've already broke it loose. I'm just going to use an air tool. Get it on there. Okay, now there's a 13 millimeter bolt on either side of your A-arm down here. So go ahead and take the, I already broke it loose again. I'm going to take it off this. Okay, so now you want to take a big hammer and hit this down to pop this bolt out. Make sure you spray some penetrating lube inside there. I'm gonna let it sit for a while. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and hit the tie rod with this hammer. Hopefully I got a big enough hammer. Try to knock it out. Well, when I was hitting that, luckily this part came undone, so I don't gotta do that now. I still gotta get this undone. There we go. Okay, so if this wouldn't have popped out when I hit the tie rod, I would have to take my hammer and hit it about right here until this popped down. And then if it didn't pop off, what I have to do is put these 13 millimeter bolts back in and take out this 18 millimeter on the bottom and remove it from the bottom. But that came out pretty easy. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the axle nut all the way off and try to pull the axle through. There we go. If you grab on the back of the axle shaft right here, it slides out pretty easy. Okay, so I couldn't just pull it out, so I'm going to use this pickle fork. I'm going to put it behind the axle and between the transmission and where the axle goes in, and I'm just going to pry it out. So once you get it get the pry bar between the axle and the transmission, you're going to push towards the middle of the car on the bottom of the handle right here where my hand is, and like a quick jerk. Well, I'm guessing it normally doesn't come out that easy, but that time it did. Okay, when you put the new drive axle in, you're going to have this little clip right here. It's kind of the same that's on the end of a lot of impact wrenches. It's all the same as mine. But you're going to need to push this axle, and you're going to hear this click when it goes in. Okay, so I'm having a little bit of trouble getting that in, so I'm going to try putting this inside of this where it goes. I'm using this as leverage to pop it in. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and just hand tighten this axle nut real quick. Okay, so now we have these two 13mm bolts and this 15mm bolt that came from this that all have to go back on. I'm just going to hand tighten it all just to get everything back together. If you pull out on that like I just did, that actually just slides right in pretty easy. Then you can turn it side to side to get the hole to line up, put the screw in, or put the bolt in. Make sure you don't cross thread these. You want to get to where you want to be able to hand tighten these all the way down. And if you can't, then you don't have everything lined up correctly. And you want to keep messing with it until you do. Okay, now I'm just going to get everything kind of tight with this. This won't over tighten anything. It only goes to 35 pounds. 13's on. Okay, the passenger side of the car is mostly the same, so I'm just gonna do it real quick. I'm not gonna make you. It's not gonna be a how-to until I get to the parts that are different. Oh, gotta put that on loosen. Okay, on this side, the bottom part just came out. I didn't have to do anything. And the axle's already out too, so all I gotta do is pop that out real quick. One thing I should have done while I was doing the other side was spray the penetrating oil, but I didn't. So hopefully the vibration will get it to penetrate faster. I'm not going to make you watch me do that whole thing. Okay, so now that that's came off, it's on to the next step. I just got to remove the power steering fan. Okay, from underneath the car, your power steering fan is about in the middle, and it's just these two 13mm nuts you got to remove. And there should be one wire connecting it. Okay, you're going to want to take a 13mm ratchet wrench and break these. There's two on this side. There's two 13mm bolts. And then there's one on the other side that's a little bit harder to get to, but I'm going to take these out first. Okay, so where this torque arm mount is, right above this side is where those two bolts are that I just took out. If you go to the other side of it, straight up, there's one bolt. And I can't really film it while I'm taking it out. And you only get like 2 or 3 clicks with your ratchet wrench, and it doesn't look like there's any room to take it out anywhere else. So this is the way I'm going. If you had a long reach air ratchet or something, you might be able to go on the other side of the axle with the air tool, but I don't have one. I'm not going to watch you guys, or make you guys watch me take this whole screw out though, or this whole nut out. And they all look about the same. That one's going to be a little bit more difficult to put back in, but I'll show you guys how to do it. Okay, so now this axle should be pretty much free. definitely need to be replaced. Alright, go this direction. Alright, I gotta get in there from the other side and pull it out. Okay, so hopefully this should just pull out. We'll find out. Yeah, it just slides out. Then you just gotta work it out. You gotta rotate it around until it doesn't hit anything. See where that was absolutely destroyed right there. That's the passenger side. The driver's side was almost as bad. So luckily I'm replacing both of these. So take the nut off of the end of the axle and then fish the new axle back in the same way you just took the old one out. I'm going to get it started from this end, but then I'm going to get underneath the car to get it in the rest of the way. Just make sure when you're sliding the axle into the transmission right here that you have your bracket rotated in the direction that you want it to be, or you're not going to be able to put it on because it won't rotate once the axle's in place. So I'm going to go ahead and just hand tighten 2 of these bolts. Okay, now from outside the car, I'm going to put the axle in place just so that it isn't dangling. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put all this stuff in place, just hand tightened. This only goes to 35 pounds, so it's not going to over tighten anything. Okay, so to get the bolt in on this side, the hard one, what you do is you put your bolt on a magnet like this, and then you slide it up there and rotate it into the hole. And then you take your other hand and try to push it in at the same time, because you don't have a direct line of shot, or a direct shot at it. But that's in there now. So now I can go ahead and get it tightened. Tightening it, it's going to be the same as, I'm not going to make you watch because it's going to take forever, but 13 millimeter, 2 or 3 clicks at a time. If you find a better way to get to this bolt when you're doing this job, please comment below, because I would definitely like to know, and I'm sure anybody watching this video would also like to know. But this is working. It's just a long process. Okay, so I found an easier way. I took this extension right here. It has a little wobble end on it, And then I put a wobble extension on the end of that with a 13mm 12 point. I put that over top of the axle, and then I used my magnet tool to put this on the bolt and then hit the button. And that actually worked pretty easy. Now these, remember that you're tightening into aluminum, so don't go too tight. And you're not going to get a torque wrench in here. So I'll put the torque specs up on the screen, but I'm obviously not using a torque wrench. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my power steering fan back on. Okay, so these two bolts are 14 foot-pounds, what you torque them down to. Okay, so now you're going to tighten the tie rod end bolt is going to be 41 foot-pounds, and then the two 13mm bolts, if I can get those. These two 13mm bolts are also going to be tightened down to 41 foot-pounds on both sides of the car. And then this bolt right here, what you're going to want to do if you don't have an assistant, if you have an assistant, have somebody press the brakes, tighten that down to 134 foot-pounds, and then crush that in. I'll show you how to do that. But if you don't have an assistant, what you're going to need to do is put your wheel on without the cap on, like I showed you earlier. Lower your car, then tighten that down to 14 foot-pounds, or 134 foot-pounds. Then you're going to have to jack your car back up, take the wheel off, crush that in. Okay, once you've already got this tight, you can take either a chisel or a screwdriver that you don't care about. I'm going to use this bolt. Put it over top of where this, make sure you have that facing straight up, and then just tap it down. Probably use a longer bolt than this, so you have more hand room. You just want it to be crushed down like that so that the bolt can't back itself out. Do that on both sides. Okay, so once you've done that, go ahead and put your wheels back on, lower your car, tighten your lug bolts down to 89 foot-pounds. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down. I'll catch you in the next video.